Hi everyone, welcome back to the Potsmoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Potsmoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. It comes from the Ketuvim, or Old Testament of the Christian Bible. I use the King James Version of the Bible to put together the prophecy of Israel from the scattered testimony of the Old Testament prophets. It became the Book of Zion, a book written entirely in Bible verse, in the words of the prophets themselves. And in order to publish it, I had to write the companion book, the Potsmoker's Bible, which is the commentary and dissertation to the prophecy of Israel. Now, the prophecy of Israel contained a set of instructions as to how to fulfill the prophecy, or I should say, enact the prophecy. And because I was uniquely qualified to do so, I did. So, as the very last thing that I am required to do to fulfill prophecy according to the prophets of Israel, I am to publish peace. And that is exactly what I'm doing right now by reading to you from the manuscripts that I have written, the Potsmoker's Bible and the Book of Zion. Today I'm reading from the 26th chapter of the Potsmoker's Bible. It contains the 23rd chapter of the Book of Zion, and it is called Behold My Servant, or the Book of Messiah. I'm going to take up now where I left off in my dissertation. I am designated here as the wife of his covenant. It stands to reason that his impassioned vow to own me was taken as a covenant, a binding vow, by the great Tolmet. If I am the wife of that covenant, then Kenny's rejection of me all of these many times is seen by the Gray as a very serious breach. A covenant is a contract, like a movie deal is a contract. But whereas a business contract is a matter of law, a covenant is a sacred contract between man and God. A marriage is a covenant, a sacred contract sanctioned by God. Kenny is being held to account for his breach of covenant. That's why the Gray felt they could lawfully link us. Kenny had vowed a vow to me that they had witnessed. So in their minds, he wasn't lawfully married to Judy because he had married me in our youth, and that marriage was what killed me. I was bound by the covenant. It was my link to life. I could not forsake the vow. It was sacred to me. I became his wife that night. My life became his. My body belonged to him. No other man had the right to touch me. And I must be faithful to my husband. So any sex to me was infidelity. Thanks, Kenny, for saving my life only to make it a living hell. Which brings us to the next passage, Jeremiah 2:15. And did not he make one yet? He had the residue of the Spirit, and therefore one that he might seek a godly seed. Therefore, take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of thy youth. This seems like a very cryptic passage. The one refers to the covenant, when they asked him if he was willing to help me, and he agreed. He made then a second covenant regarding me. This time he made the vow to them, again not knowing that they are God, but with this vow to them, he was linked to me. The link they hoped would allow him to realize a higher form and a will to do the godly thing. They hoped Kenny would take heed to his spirit. Our merged mind is the spirit. So they hoped his new vow would lead him to righteousness. His change, his charge, was to protect me, to ensure that none dealt treacherously with me, but instead he enjoyed the abuse he participated in. Sex was his weapon. He used it to torture me because he took part in the sin. He wanted me to cheat on him. He enjoyed my pain. He didn't heed our spirit, so he also broke that vow too. Which brings us to our next passage, which is Psalms 69, 7 and 8, which becomes Zion 23, 47 and 48. Because for thy sake I have borne reproach, shame has covered my face. I am become a stranger to mine own brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children. Because for thy sake I have borne reproach, shame has covered my face. This passage describes what his broken vow has done to me. I have always taken massive amounts of shit from everyone I know because of my keeping of the covenant of my youth. By keeping my vow to love the one chosen for me, I was keeping my part of the vow to the threefold God, for the knowledge of who I could truly love, despite my childhood of incest and rape. It wasn't just that Kenny was the one proven to be the chosen one. I was keeping my vow to the threefold God. I have been berated with shame many times because of my love of Kenny. No one thinks I'm doing myself any good for loving a guy who obviously doesn't give a shit about me. But no one gets the point. And I will gladly face shame and or ridicule for the point. Anytime, any place, and for any reason. So, go ahead. Try to shame me. Because the point isn't at all, Kenny at all. He is just the object of the threefold God's actions. It's about this great, big, huge, real, proven being called the threefold God that I somehow made contact with. This true threefold God is worth every shame. This awesome, beautiful interaction with the divine, that is the point. That is the reason. The threefold God, not Kenny. Kenny was the manifestation of the answer to my prayer. I prayed. I had a dream that was the answer to that prayer. And a month later, that answer was manifested in physical form. Kenny and I spent a single night together. And that single night, he made for real for me the threefold God. When I stayed true to Kenny, I stayed true to the threefold God that chose him and then proved it physically. It has been 40 years since Kenny was chosen for me by the threefold God. A generation in biblical terms. So, for an entire Jewish generation, I have been faithful to the God of the Jewish people. Kenny was my test of faith. To be true to Kenny was to be true to the threefold God of Israel. I am become a stranger to mine own brethren, and an alien to my mother's children. And this so describes my family life, or lack thereof. Of my brothers, only two survive. The oldest, who is innocent towards me, and my younger brother, only slightly guilty. I also have two living sisters. My mother, two survives. but I never talk to them. We are strangers. I can't be part of a family that doesn't know me as I truly am. No one in my family wants to know about incest. They would much rather think I'm crazy. One of my sisters told me that no one would ever read this book. They don't know me. They don't want to know me. They want a little sister who's just like them. But I'm not like them. I am alien. I am the first gray. I am a stranger. I used to talk to my mother about once a month. She usually does the calling. But when I'm with my family, I feel like an alien. I don't really belong. No one in my family is even slightly religious. I alone am the scholar. I have no familial ties. I am a priestess. My life is the threefold God. By the threefold God, I belong to Kenny, and I am religious, a spiritualist. I follow a path that my family doesn't get. I'm an alien to them, to my own mother's children. It's funny. The rest of my siblings are all peas in a pod. They have everything, almost anyway, in common. They all have families. They have grandkids. They led normal lives. They are their mother's children. When my family gets together, it's a big old party. Good times are had by all in the Zionite way. All my siblings are Zionites, but they don't believe in Zion. They don't believe in me. They're all alike. They're just not like me. Which brings us to the next passage, Isaiah 61:10, which becomes Zion 23:47. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me in garments of salvation, and he hath clothed me in the garments of righteousness. As a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorned herself with her jewels. I have taken the path of ascension. I will rejoice in the Lord, my threefold God. I have borne the same of the prophet's path. I have puzzled out the path of salvation. I have taken on the mantle of the bride. I await my bridegroom, my chosen one of God, my chosen one of Israel, my future king of Zion, my Messiah. Which brings us to Zechariah 4:14, which is Zion 23:48. Then said he, These two are the anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. On that faithful night in early 1988, soon after my father passed away, I heard the words of the true threefold God. I was told that I was the bride. I get what I wanted. Kenny, my husband of youth, the one chosen for me by the threefold God. The only thing I have ever truly wanted, to get back together with Kenny. We are the two witnesses, anointed by the threefold God, the Lord of the whole earth, by the gray, by the earth, and by the unity that is the God-Goddess, the big three, the power behind all the reality in this plane of being. Kenny and I have spent the last 30 years interacting with beings and principalities. We are witness to alien contact, the spiritual unity, and to the Godhead of ascension for all the family of Gray. Gray, aliens, gray humans, and humans. We know the beings called God. We are known. We have known them for years. And may they watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. May they teach you right from wrong, and may you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Find your joy and pursue it, and make that your guild choice when we get to Camp Zion. If you use drugs, stay happy and high. You have every right and reason to. Believe me, I know. I wrote 2 books about it. My name is Zion. I love you way too much to say goodbye, so I'm going to say later now.